Jason walked through the long metal hallway of Vector 9's space station. The lights above him flickered slightly, as they always did, and the smell of recycled air filled his nose. He hated coming to the medical bay. Too many questions, too many. Strange machines, and too many aliens who stared at him like he was some kind of rare animal. He was just a technician. He fixed broken panels, power cables, and air filters. But every few weeks, all crew members had to report for a health check. Rules were rules, especially in a mixed-species station like this one. He stepped into the quiet medical bay. The room was cold, clean, and filled with soft humming sounds. A few alien nurses moved between beds and equipment, but one of them turned toward him and gave a small nod. She was tall, slim, and had pale blue skin. Her eyes were large and violet, and her movements were smooth like water. "Jason, technician, Sector 7, correct?" she asked softly. "Yeah," he replied. "Just here for the routine checkup." The nurse motioned him to sit on a soft white chair. Her name tag reads Solari. He had seen her once or twice before, but never up close. She was quiet, not like the other nurses who asked too many questions or laughed at his nervous jokes. "Relax." "Your arm, please," she said in a calm voice. "This will be quick." Jason offered his arm, watching as she prepared a small injector device. It was smooth and silver, with blinking lights. He had seen them before, harmless shots for scanning. Cells, or boosting immunity. Nothing serious. She pressed it against his skin and clicked the button. But something felt different. Sharp warmth spread through his arm. It wasn't supposed to feel like that. Jason pulled his arm back, frowning. "What was that?" he asked. "C'est Lar." Hands froze. Her eyes widened slightly and her calm face changed. She looked around quickly, then reached for the wall panel. With a soft beep, she locked the door. "Hey, what are you doing?" Jason stood up. Sailor turned to him and whispered, "You must keep this secret." "What secret?" Voice rose. "What did you just inject me with?" She shook her head. "I cannot explain now, but please, say nothing. Not to anyone, not to your human team, not to command. Just act normal." Jason felt his heartbeat speed up. The warmth in his arm was fading, but a strange energy now pulsed in his chest. It didn't hurt, but it felt wrong, different. "You gave me the wrong shot," he said, stepping back. "Didn't you?" Solari didn't answer. She just stood still, watching him carefully. Her hands trembled slightly. "Look," he said, lowering his voice, "I'm not going to shout or make a scene, but you need to tell me what's going on. Did you mess up? Am I in danger?" She walked over to the panel and unlocked the door, then looked back at him. "You are not in danger yet, but please go. I will call for your next checkup soon. Act normal." Jason stared at her for a moment, then slowly stepped out of the room. The hallway felt colder than before. His mind raced. Had she panicked? Had she realized a mistake? Or was it something worse? He made his way back to his living quarters, trying to keep calm. Maybe it was just a small error. Maybe he was overthinking it. But that night, as he lay in his bunk, something strange happened. His hand brushed against the sharp edge of his toolkit, and a thin cut opened on his palm. He hissed and grabbed a tissue to stop the blood. But within seconds, the skin closed. The wound healed on its own. He sat up, shocked. "No way," he whispered. Jason tested it again. He gently scratched his arm with a tiny blade enough to leave a red line. It vanished in seconds. His heart pounded. He looked at his reflection in the small mirror. Nothing looked different. But something inside had changed. The next morning, Jason returned to work like nothing happened. He fixed a power relay in the cargo bay, helped 2 engineers reset the gravity panel, and answered a dozen calls about broken lights. Everything seemed normal, but he moved faster. He noticed details others didn't. When a heavy box slipped off a shelf, he caught it before it hit the ground. His hands didn't shake. His focus was perfect. He couldn't stop thinking about Solari. During his break, he returned to the medical bay. Solari wasn't there. A different nurse greeted him. "Solari?" Jason asked. "Off duty?" the nurse replied. Is there a problem? No, Jason said quickly. Just had a question about my checkup. He walked away, feeling frustrated. He needed answers to days past. Jason tried to ignore the changes in his body, but it was impossible. He didn't sleep much, yet felt full of energy. He could hear conversations through walls. His vision was sharper. He memorized numbers, codes, and maps without trying. Finally, Solari returned. He waited outside the medical bay until she came. Out. She looked surprised to see him, but didn't run. We need to talk, he said quietly. She looked around, then nodded, and led him to a quiet corner of the station's garden dome. The air was fresh there, filled with soft light and green. Plants, it was one of the few peaceful places on Vectronine. You said I'm not in danger, Jason began. But I don't believe that anymore. Something's happening to me. I'm healing fast. I move faster. I can hear things from far away. What did you do to me? Solari looked down. It was not meant for you. What was it? He asked. A serum, she said softly. Experimental. For military use. Not approved. Not safe. I took it. To keep it away from those who would use it for war. But you came in. I panicked. I didn't mean to. You injected me with stolen tech. He interrupted. Why? Because you're human, she said. And the serum bonded with your DNA. Better than we expected. Better than anyone expected. Jason sat down, stunned. This wasn't just a mistake. This was something big. Something dangerous. And now? He asked. Now, Solari said. They will come looking for it. Jason sat quietly on the bench inside the garden dome. Plants swayed gently under the artificial wind. Celery stood in front of him, her hands folded, her eyes lowered. She looked worried, almost scared. He didn't speak for a while. His mind was filled with questions. Finally he asked, What does the serum do exactly? Solari took a deep breath. It was designed to enhance soldiers. Faster healing, sharper senses, quicker thinking, better reaction time. It changes the body from the inside. It builds new connections. It makes the person stronger than normal. Jason nodded slowly. That's exactly what's been happening to me. Yes, she said. But it was never tested on humans. It's only on my species. And only in secret. No one was supposed to know. So what now? Jason asked. He said someone's coming? Who? Larry looked around, checking if anyone was near. The Syndicate. He frowned. What's that? A rogue group, she said softly. They pretend to help the galaxy, but they steal research and force scientists to create weapons. They wanted the serum. My lab refused. So the Syndicate sent agents. They would have taken it by force. I stole it before they arrived. Hid it. Then you came in, and I panicked. Jason stood up. Why panic? I would have listened. I'm not part of the Syndicate. You're human, she said. And humans? Scare them. Your kind is unpredictable. If they knew a human bonded with the serum, they would do anything to control you or destroy you. His stomach felt tight. Are they already here? I don't know, she whispered. But if they track the serum's energy pattern, they'll find this station. Jason ran a hand through his hair. He wasn't a soldier. He wasn't a hero. He fixed machines. That's all. Now he was caught in something big, something dangerous. Can you remove it? He asked. Lara shook her head. No. Once it binds to your cells, it becomes part of you. Just trying to remove it would damage your body. Great, he muttered. So I'm stuck with powers I didn't ask for, and enemies I didn't want. You can still hide, Solari said quickly. Pretend you're normal. Don't draw attention. I can protect you, for a while. Jason looked at her. She seemed serious. Afraid, yes, but also kind. She hadn't meant to hurt him. Tried to stop something worse. He sighed. All right, I'll keep it quiet. But if I'm in danger, I need to be ready. Solari gave a small nod. I'll help you. Train you? Train me? He raised an eyebrow. I'm not a fighter. You don't need to fight, she said. But you need to control what's happening. If you panic, your body might overreact.
What?
The serum responds to fear, pain, and stress.
What?
It could make things worse. Jason thought back to the time he lifted the heavy box without effort. He hadn't been thinking. He had just reacted. Maybe she was right. Okay, he said. Where do we start? The next few days, Jason kept working like nothing happened. He repaired broken wires, checked air filters, and smiled when people spoke to him. But inside, he was different. Stronger, faster, sharper. Every evening after work, he met Solari. In the garden dome or the storage tunnels, she taught him breathing exercises, how to calm his thoughts, how to stay still, even when angry or scared. She showed him how to feel the signals in his body, the way his muscles tensed, the way his heart sped up when danger was near. The serum wants to protect you, she explained, but if you lose control, it may act too strongly. It can harm others. They practiced for hours. One day she threw a small ball at him without warning. Jason caught it without thinking. Another time, she dropped a sharp object toward his foot. He moved before it touched the ground. He didn't know how, but he was changing fast. You're learning quickly, Solari said. Your brain is adapting. The serum is helping. Jason nodded, wiping sweat from his forehead. Still feels strange. You're doing well, she said, smiling slightly. He smiled back, feeling a little proud. But their peaceful time didn't last long. A week later, new visitors arrived at Vectra Station. They came on a sleek black ship with no name or markings. The station's leader welcomed them politely, as they claimed to be from a trade alliance. Jason and Solari watched the landing from a viewing window. Her face went pale. That's them. She whispered, Are you sure? Yes, she said. They always wear black uniforms. They never speak their real names. Jason's stomach turned. They're looking for the serum, aren't they? Yes, she said. And they'll search until they find it. What do we do? Solari looked serious. We hide. But we must also prepare to leave. They get close, they'll scan everyone. They'll find the energy inside you. You said we had time, Jason said. I was wrong. The next day, rumors spread around the station. Security checks were increasing. Strange people were walking the halls. A human guard told Jason the visitors were asking questions about lab thefts and secret research. Lar called him to meet in the storage bay. When he arrived, she was holding a small bag. We have to go, she said. Go where? Anywhere. But here, she replied, I have a plan. A ship, hidden in the outer ring. We can escape before they close the doors. Jason hesitated. Leaving the station meant losing his job, his home, his life, but staying meant death or worse. He nodded slowly. I'm with you. As they moved through the dark corridors, Solari explained the path. They would pass through cargo holds, slip, past security cams, and reach the docking ring. We'll need to move fast, she said. Can you use your new speed? I'll try, Jason replied. They crept through the tunnels, avoiding patrols. Jason's heart pounded, but his steps were quiet. His hearing picked up the soft hums of distant voices. He guided Solari away. From them, finally, they reached the last door. On the other side was freedom, but just as Solari touched the panel, lights flashed red. Alert, said a robotic voice. Unauthorized movement detected. Celery turned. Run. But it was too late. The door behind them opened and 3 black-clad figures stepped through. Their faces were cold, and their weapons were ready. Jason stood between them and Solari for the first time. He didn't feel afraid. Jason stood in front of Solari as the syndicate agents raised their weapons. The air around them felt heavy. Red warning lights flashed along the ceiling. The dull sound of alarms echoed through the hallway. Step aside, one of the agents said in a calm but cold voice. Jason didn't move. His hands were at his sides, but every muscle in his body was ready. You don't want to do this, Jason said quietly. The lead agent tilted his head. And what is it you think we're doing? Here for something you shouldn't have, Jason said. You want the serum, but it's not yours. Another agent narrowed her eyes. You're just a technician. You don't even know what's in your veins. Jason stepped forward. I know enough. Before anyone could react, the nearest agent rushed forward with a stun baton. Jason's body moved on its own. He ducked under the swing, grabbed the man's arm, and flipped him to the ground in one smooth motion. Lara gasped. The second agent aimed a weapon. Jason spun to the side and kicked it from his hands. The weapon clattered across the floor. The third agent tried to press a signal on his wrist, but Jason reached him in a flash and pinned him against the wall. His breathing was steady. His hands didn't shake. Everything felt sharp and clear. The serum was working. He turned to Celery. Go, now. Celery opened the control panel and unlocked the docking door. Behind it was a small maintenance ship, hidden behind crates and old cargo units. Jason shoved the last agent aside and ran after her. Together they jumped into the ship. Celery started the launch sequence as the station's inner alarms screamed louder. The docking bay doors began to open slowly, but just before they could leave. The lead agent from earlier stood in front of the ship with a hand device glowing in red. He pointed it at the control panel outside and activated a lock command. Metal clamps snapped around the ship's landing gear. They're holding us in, Celery said. I can't take off. Jason looked around. Then he saw a manual override hatch outside the ship. I'll go, he said. It's too dangerous, Celery warned. They're armed. I'll be fast, Jason replied. I'll get ready to launch. Without waiting, he opened the ship's hatch and ran out. The agent saw him and aimed the glowing device. Jason didn't stop. He moved so fast it looked like a blur. He dodged a stun blast, rolled under a support beam, and reached the hatch. His fingers flew over the buttons. The clamps released. Salar shouted from inside, "We're free." Jason turned to run back, but the lead agent grabbed a weapon and fired again. This time, the bolt hit Jason in the side. He fell to one knee. Pain surged through him, but the serum responded. Duh! The burning feeling faded quickly. He stood up again, faster than anyone expected. The agent's eyes widened. Impossible. Jason didn't answer, ran back to the ship, jumped inside, and slammed the hatch shut. Go. He yelled, Salar! I activated the thrusters. The ship lifted off, pulled away from the docking bay, and flew out into space behind them. The station lights grew smaller and smaller until they were gone. Inside the ship, Jason leaned back and let out a long breath. The wound on his side was almost gone. Salar looked at him with amazement. You shouldn't be alive. Guess I'm tougher than I look, Jason said with a small smile. She placed a hand on his arm. You saved us both. We're not safe yet, he said. They know what I am now. They'll come after us. Yes, she said. But now we have time. We can hide. And plan. What's the plan? Jason asked. I have an old contact, Solari said. Someone who helped me escape the lab. He lives on a moon called Gratho 7, far from the core systems. We can go there. Jason nodded. Sounds good. Let's go. As they flew through space, Jason couldn't stop thinking about what just happened. He had fought 3 trained agents, dodged weapons, healed from a stun blast. It wasn't natural. It wasn't normal. Am I even still human? He asked quietly. Salar. I looked at him. You are. But you're something more now. Something new. Never stop coming, will they? No, she said honestly. But that means you must become stronger. He looked out the window. Stars passed by like white streaks. I don't want to hurt people, he said. You didn't, Solari replied. You protected us. And soon, you may protect more. 2 days later, their ship landed on Gratha 7. It was a cold moon with blue grass, tall black rocks, and deep caves. Only a few small settlements existed there, built by miners and explorers. Who wanted to avoid attention? They met Solari's contact, an old alien named Morin, with bright green eyes and many scars. He lived in a hidden shelter beneath a cliff. You brought trouble, Morin said when he saw them. We need help, Solari explained. The serum was used. The Syndicate knows. Morin looked at Jason. So this is the human. My name's Jason, he said. Morin nodded slowly. You'll need to train, The syndicate won't stop. For the next weeks, Jason stayed at the shelter. Morin helped him learn new ways to fight, to think, and to survive. They trained with weapons, tools, and tech. Solari helped him meditate and understand the signals in his body. Sometimes Jason felt angry. He hadn't chosen this life. He just wanted to fix machines and live in peace. But when he thought about how Solari had risked everything to stop the syndicate, he felt something. Else purpose. He didn't know where the road would lead, but he knew he wouldn't walk it alone. The days on Gratho 7 felt long and cold, but Jason used every hour. Each morning he ran across the blue grass until ice formed on his breath. Morin timed him, clicking a little stone counter. When Jason first arrived, he could cross the valley in 8 minutes. A week later, he did it in 5. His legs no longer ached afterward. The serum knit his muscles strong and light. After the run, Celery guided him through focus drills. They sat in a circle of tall black rocks. She placed small metal beads on the stones, then asked Jason to close his eyes. She tossed a bead into the air without warning. He had to open his eyes, find the moving bead, and catch it before it hit the ground. At first, he missed half of them. By the 10th day, he missed none. Morin drilled other skills too. He showed Jason how to break down a blaster, how to set traps, and how to read footprints in the thin moon dust. The old alien's voice was rough, but his lessons were clear. Speed without sense is waste. Power without plan is danger. Jason listened. He did not complain. Deep inside, he still wished for his old life on the station, but that life was over. The syndicate had taken it the moment they chased him down the corridor. Now he could only move forward. One evening, while the pale sun was setting behind the jagged cliffs, Solari noticed Jason staring at the horizon. "You're worried?" she said softly. "I keep thinking of the people on Vectranine," he replied. "The syndicate may punish them for our escape. They want the serum," Solari said. "They will focus on us." Jason shook his head. It might still hurt bystanders to send a message. Solari placed a hand on his shoulder. "Then we must end this soon." Words carried a weight Jason hadn't felt before. Ending it meant facing the syndicate, not hiding forever. He nodded slowly, accepting what lay ahead. 3 nights later, a low hum drifted over the moon. Jason woke at once. The sound vibrated through his bones like a warning bell. Morin met him at the shelter entrance. "Scout drones, the old alien," said, small, silent, hard to spot. "The syndicate uses them to mark targets before they send soldiers." Jason lifted a scanner. A faint red dot blinked in the sky, weaving between thin clouds. "They found us." Solari hurried forward with a compact jamming unit. "If I scramble their signal, the drone will lose control and crash, but they may still track the last coordinate it sent." Jason glanced at Morin. "We need to take it out quietly." Morin nodded. "Follow me." They climbed a narrow path. Between rocks, Jason moved first, boots silent on the frozen soil. The dot grew brighter as they neared a ridge. The drone hovered like a metal moth, thin blades spinning. Morin handed Jason a short-range pulse stick. "Throw it close, not too close." Jason breathed in, aimed, and threw. The stick burst with a blue flash beside the drone. Circuits fried. The drone jolted, spun, and fell, crashing into the grass without a sound louder than a sigh. Jason retrieved the broken shell. Its lens still flickered. "Can you read its memory?" he asked Celery. "Yes," she said, kneeling by the wreck. Her fingers danced over a scanner pad. Green lines scrolled across the display. Her eyes widened. "Bad news. It already sent a brief ping to a ship in orbit. They know approximate location." Morin rubbed a scar on his chin. "And we have maybe 3 hours before a full strike." Team lands. Jason stood tall. No more running. We warn the miners here and prepare a welcome. The settlement's leader, a stout woman named Delescend, as Jason explained. Her face hardened. "We're simple folk," she said, "but we won't hand you over." "I don't want anyone harmed because of me," Jason replied. "Help us set traps, then hide your families in the cave network." Dala nodded. "Done." The next hour was a blur of movement. Miners laid trip lines between sharp rocks. Morin planted flash mines near the landing flats. Solari marked safe routes. With small blue lights, Jason focused on a narrow canyon that led straight to the shelter. He dragged heavy crates to form makeshift cover points and embedded signal beacons under the soil. Each beacon could blind enemy sensors for a short burst. Giving him surprise when all was ready, the settlement lights went dark. Only the cold. Stars shone above Jason, Solari, and Morin waited at the canyon mouth. Jason's pulse was steady, yet his senses buzzed. He could hear the distant thump of an approaching engine long before the others. "Incoming," he whispered. A black shuttle slipped through the clouds and touched down on a flat ridge. Figures in dark suits poured out, 6, maybe 8. They moved in pairs, scanning the ground, rifles ready. Same uniforms as Vectra. Jason muttered. Moran checked his scope. And same confidence. They think this will be easy. Fingered a small remote. On your mark. Jason counted heartbeats. When the lead pair entered the canyon, he signaled. Solari triggered the first beacon. The soldiers' scanners burst with static. They stumbled. Jason sprinted forward, silent as wind. He slid behind a boulder, tossed a flash mine. Light exploded, forcing the soldiers to shield their eyes. Jason disarmed one with a quick strike and pulled the other's rifle away. He set both weapons to safe and flung them over a cliff ledge. Morin's long-range dart gun hissed. A tranquilizer tag found its mark on a third soldier who crumpled without a sound. The remaining enemies regrouped fast. One fired blindly. Shots sparked against stone. Lori's voice crackled in Jason's earpiece. Backup teams circling left. Jason pivoted, rolled under another shot, and used his own stun baton to tap the shooter's arm. The soldier dropped. Only 3 were left. Now, they stacked behind cover and launched a small rolling probe. Jason kicked the probe back before it armed. The blast knocked dust into the air, but hurt no one. The last soldiers retreated toward the shuttle, calling for extraction. Moran disabled. Their path with a remote barrier net, sparks rippled. The soldiers froze, unsure. Jason walked into view. Moonlight painted him silver. He spoke loud enough to carry. Tell your bosses to stop hunting me. The serum is mine now. They keep coming. I'll make sure every council hears what they did. The leader aimed a shaking rifle, but made no shot. Jason saw the fear in his eyes. Slowly, the rifle lowered. Drop your weapons and leave, Jason said. You're not welcome here. One by one, the soldiers obeyed. They backed into the shuttle and lifted off. The ship angled away, engines dim, like an animal that had lost its taste for the hunt. Silence fell over the canyon. Solari hurried to Jason, relief bright on her face. You did it. We all did, he replied, looking at the miners emerging. From hiding spots to cheer quietly, Moran packed his gear. They'll report failure. The syndicate rarely forgives that, which means they'll send more, Jason said. Yes, Solari agreed. But tonight, we proved we can resist. Jason gazed up at the stars. The fight had come to him, and he had sent it away. He no longer felt like a technician running from trouble, felt like someone who could protect others. Next time, he said, we take the fight to them. Moran smiled, old scars pulling at his cheeks. Then we better find allies soon. Solari nodded. I know where to start. An independent data hub on Orion's edge holds records of the Syndicate's deals. If we reach it, we can expose them. To the Galactic Council. Jason's eyes gleamed with resolve. And then that's our next stop. The cold wind swept through the canyon, carrying away the last echoes of battle. Behind Jason, the people of Gratha 7 lit small lanterns and thanks ahead, the stars pointed the way to a new mission, one that could change the fate of many worlds. The pale dawn on Gratha 7 found Jason loading crates into the small freighter that Morin once used for supply runs. Bluegrass crunched under his boots, and wisps of frosty air curled from his mouth. Miners helped in silence, passing fuel. Cells, water packs, and thin ration bars hand to hand. None spoke of fear. Their steady work was there thanks for the night's defense. Jason felt pride mixed with worry. He knew every favor came with weight, and he promised himself their help would not be wasted. Later I walked from the shelter, carrying a narrow silver case. Inside lay the jammer, spare beacons, and 3 data chips. Morin followed, limping slightly from an old injury yet refusing to rest. He checked the freighter's hull seals and power lines with quick, expert hands. When everything was stowed, the 3 stood by the boarding ramp while Dala, the settlement leader, stepped forward. "This moon will remember what you did," she said in a low voice. "Be careful out there." Jason offered a small nod. "We'll send word when the syndicate is exposed." Dala smiled, then pressed a smooth stone into his palm. "Luck from Grotha. Keep it close." Jason slipped the stone into a pocket over his heart. The freighter's engines rumbled awake, and moments later the ship lifted, leaving a swirl of blue dust drifting in the thin air. As the moon shrank below, Jason thought of the lanterns the miners had lit. Their faint orange glow still burned in his mind. Pushing him onward, the trip to Orion's edge took 2 jumps and 17 quiet hours in sublight. Morin set the autopilot while Jason sat cross-legged in the cargo bay, practicing breath control. He counted heartbeats, feeling the serum answer each slow inhale. Heat flowed through his chest, then cooled at his command. Solari watched, timing his sessions. "Faster recovery," she observed. "Your control keeps improving. Still. Feel sparks when I'm angry," Jason admitted, opening his eyes. "My hands tighten before I intend." "Anger's natural," Morin said from the doorway. "Use it, but chain it." He tossed a small metal rod. "Catch." Jason's hand snapped up, seizing the rod an inch from his face. He grinned despite himself. Training had become a strange comfort. When the nav alarm chimed, the stars stretched into long threads, then snapped back, revealing the vast ring of platforms known as Orion's Edge. Cargo barges drifted like insects around a bright metal core. Neon signs flickered in dozens of languages, advertising fuel, repairs, quiet deals with no questions asked. Morin guided the freighter to a secondary dock, where fees were lower and security less curious. As the landing clamps locked, Jason felt a familiar tension crawl across his skin danger clothes. Unseen but certain, Later I handed Jason a slim earpiece. "We stay linked at all times," she said. "No open chatter." "What about weapons?" he asked. "Stun batons only," Morin answered. "Station law forbids energy rifles inside the core, and we don't want extra attention." They exited into a dim corridor that smelled of engine oil and fried spice noodles. Crowds shuffled past, traders with glowing crates, pilots with grease tattoos, and groups of silent guards bearing no flags. Somewhere in that swirl, syndicate eyes could be watching. Their first stop was a tucked-away tea stall run by a short human woman whose hair was cut in uneven red stripes. She served pale steamed cups and answered only in single syllables until Solari broke an old code phrase, "Cold hands, warm circuits." The woman's gaze sharpened. "Solari, I thought you were dust." "Still breathing," Solari replied. "We need a path into the Nexus vault." The woman Lena raised a brow, then laughed softly. "You don't ask for small favors." Lena closed her stall, pulling down a rusted shutter, and led them through winding back alleys lit by flickering blue panels. She talked while walking, voice light yet quick. Nexus Vault sits inside the data tower. Independent operators store trade secrets there, plus gossip archives the council ignores. Syndicate rents a private node 2 levels down. Getting in is messy, getting out is worse. "You slice it?" Jason asked. "I can open a door," Lena said. "After that, you're on your own, and if you burn my handle, we never met." They reached a maintenance hatch guarded by a sleepy service drone. Lena flashed a forged code card. The drone rolled aside without comment. Inside, thin pipes lined cramped tunnels. Red arrows stenciled on the walls showed emergency exits. Lena pointed up a ladder shaft. 3 climbs, 2 subvault wires. Sensors are mild. The syndicate trusts. Paid guards more than machines. Morin stayed below to watch their retreat path. Jason and Solari climbed behind Lena, metal rungs cold beneath their fingers. At the 3rd level, Lena pried open a vent panel and waved them through. Jason slipped into a narrow service duct that overlooked a bright corridor. Armored guards in black paste beneath, rifles slung low. "Say lar," I whispered. "For guards. Long shift posture. They're bored." Jason studied the rhythm of footsteps, counting seconds between turns. He felt the serum stir, sharpening sight and sound, mapping spaces. He tapped Solari's wrist, twice his silent sign for wait, and silently dropped from the vent. When the guards turned away, he landed without noise, rolled behind a crate, and clicked a beacon disc onto the floor. Static hissed. Nearby cameras blinked out for 5 breaths. Solari descended next, moving with practiced grace. Lena remained above, jamming feed loops from a portable console. They hurried to a thick door marked Private Node 17. Solari knelt, pulling slender wires from her case. Jason stood guard, listening to each beat of heavy boots. "Say lar," single quotes. His hands shook once, then steadied. The lock flashed green. The door slid open into a chilly room filled with stacked servers, glowing pale blue. Data conduits pulsed like veins inside walls. Say lar inserted a chip and began a fast copy. Numbers raced across her handheld. Each loaded file was another proof of syndicate crime shipment lists, bribed officials, seizure plans. Outside, Jason heard guards laugh about card games. His shoulders eased slightly, but then a new sound cut through, heavy doors slamming. At the far end, followed by clipped orders. "Rotations early," he muttered. "They're swapping shifts." Solari's bar filled to 60%. The first new guard rounded the corner. His visor reflected the dim light. No boredom in that stride. He glanced at the dark cameras, suspicion blooming. Jason stepped out, pretending to adjust a wall panel. "Maintenance," he said lightly. The guard frowned. "Badge," Jason raised. "A blank card." The guard's eyes narrowed. He reached for a cum. Before the call could open, Jason swept aside, tapping the man's wrist with his baton. Electric pulse dropped the guard silently to the floor. More came running. Jason slid forward, ducking a stun bolt that sizzled over his shoulder. He struck the leg of the nearest, then flipped the other with a shoulder roll, using momentum. And speed more than brute force. No lethal blows, but decisive. Solari's bar hit 90%. From the main hall came clanking steps reinforcements. Lena crackled in the earpiece. "Company headed your way, and they're not lazy." "Lock outer doors," Jason whispered. "On it," Lena said. Heavy locks slammed, buying precious seconds. Solari yanked the chip free. Copy complete. Alarms wailed. Red lights strobed. Backup forces pounded the sealed doors. Jason grabbed Solari's hand. They sprinted into the service duct, just as Lena reopened a vent farther down. All 3 crawled fast, heat from failing servo fans roaring beneath them. As they reached the ladder, the outer doors burst. Shouts and boots echoed. In the lower tunnels, Morin waved from an open hatch toward the dock. But the path back was no longer clear. 2 syndicate agents cut them off, rifles aimed. Jason stepped forward, heart steady. Before the agents fired, Lena tossed a flash canister. White light filled the corridor. Jason charged through the glare, knocking weapons aside. And guiding his team past, they burst into the docking bay. The freighter's engines were hot, but a sleek pursuit craft hovered at the entrance, blocking escape. Syndicate pilots inside turned their cannons. Moran cursed. Their shields beat ours. Jason's mind raced. He spotted fuel drums stacked. On a loader rail, he pushed those into their intake. Detonate, then jump. Solari didn't question. She and Morin released the clamps holding the drums. Jason kicked the control pad, sending the loader rolling toward the pursuit craft. Pilots barked warnings, trying to reverse, but the narrow bay left little room. At the last meter, Celery fired a stun bolt into the drum's ignition port. Flame bloomed, a hot blast smashing the craft's shields and forcing its engines to shut down. "Now," Jason shouted. Moran punched throttle. The freighter shot through smoke and sparks, clipping a wing but clearing the gap. Space opened before them, stars shining like a promise. Inside, alarms still rang, but Jason slid into the co-pilot seat. Breath ragged yet calm, Solari inserted the data chip into the cum array. Sending to council relay. Encrypted burst, she said. A green light blinked transmission away. Relief washed over them, but only for a heartbeat. Sensors flared red. Tractor beam, Moran growled. A syndicate cruiser had uncloaked astern, massive and silent. Gripping them in iron light, Jason clenched the Gratha Luckstone in his pocket. They got our ship, he muttered, eyes hard, but the truth is already flying through the network.
All day, Solari.
Met his gaze, fearless. Then we fight from inside. The freighter was pulled toward the dark belly of the cruiser, sparks trailing like falling stars. Ahead awaited either capture or a chance to end the war face to face. The tractor beam pulled the small freighter toward the syndicate cruiser like a fish caught on a steel line. Metal groaned, and orange sparks trailed behind the engines. Inside the cockpit, Jason steadied his breath while Celery and Morin checked their gear. Lena sat at a side console, fingers tapping quick codes to scramble the cruiser's scanners for a few extra seconds. Docking bay doors opening. As soon as they drop shields to pull us inside, we make our move. No carnage, Solari added, her calm voice hiding the tension in her eyes. Disable, do not destroy. The council will need prisoners as proof. Jason nodded. Understood. He felt the serum hum beneath his skin. Ready. Anger and fear tried to rise, but he chained them, just as Morin had taught him, letting only clear purpose remain. With a thud, the freighter settled on the cruiser's deck, magnetic clamps locked it in place. Outside the viewport, rows of armed guards lined up, weapons raised. An officer in a dark cloak stepped forward, face hidden by a polished mask. Power down and exit. The officer's voice boomed through external speakers. Any resistance will be met with full force. Jason looked to his team. Time 2. Fight from inside. He opened a hidden panel by the hatch and pulled out 4 small pulse discs. Each member took one. The ramp lowered. Bright white lights flooded the freighter. Jason stepped out first, hands visible, pretending surrender. Solari, Morin, and Lena followed close behind. The masked officer approached. Identify cargo and passengers, he ordered. Jason spoke calmly. Just a technician, a nurse, a trader, and a pilot needing repairs. You forget, the officer said, tilting his head. We can smell lies, he signaled. 2 guards advanced with scanners glowing red dot. Jason waited until the scanners were within reach. Then he flicked his wrist. The pulse disc slid from his sleeve, landed between the guards, and flashed brilliant blue. All nearby weapons and sensors shut down in an instant of crackling energy. Now, Solari shouted. Chaos broke. Jason moved first, striking the nearest guard's arm and sending the rifle skidding across the deck. Moran used his baton to trip another guard, then stunned a third before anyone recovered. Lena ducked behind a crate, plugging a spike into the deck console, 2 jam door controls. The officer drew a sleek blade that hummed with plasma. He lunged at Jason, swift and skilled. Metal hissed as it sliced air. Jason dodged, feeling the heat pass his cheek. He countered with a short palm strike that cracked the mask's left side. The officer staggered, surprised at the power behind the blow. Who are you? The officer hissed. Someone you shouldn't have pushed, Jason replied. More guards poured in, but the pulse discs had fried most of their guns. They drew stun batons instead, closing in. Jason's team formed a small circle back-to-back, deflecting strikes and disabling foes with precision. Morin shielded Lena while she hacked the bay's main systems, her eyes racing across code. Door. Seals overridden, Lena called. But we'll have company from every hallway in 30 seconds. Larry pointed to a service lift on the far wall. Control center is 6 decks up. If we reach it, we can broadcast the evidence files straight through their own network. Go, Jason said. I'll clear a path. He ran ahead, leaping over fallen guards. The lift doors opened. Inside, 2 shock technicians froze at his arrival. Jason tapped their control pad, sending the lift upward before the doors fully shut. Alarms blared through the cruiser. Red strobes flashed. An automated voice repeated, security breach in Bay 4 contain immediately. When the lift stopped, The doors parted to reveal a wide corridor lined with curved windows looking out on star-filled blackness. For Syndicate soldiers in heavier armor blocked the way, each holding a charged shield. "You will not pass," the lead soldier said. Jason stepped forward. To his side, Solari palmed to small spheres smoke droppers she had built from medical canisters. She tossed them. Thick gray clouds filled the corridor. Visibility dropped to nothing. In the haze, Jason's heightened senses guided him. He heard each soldier's breath, felt vibrations through the deck. He ducked under a swinging shield, swept the soldier's leg, and used the fallen man's shield to deflect a stun strike aimed at Lena. Morin rolled low, wrapping an opponent's ankle with a cable and yanking hard. Within seconds, the corridor was clear. They hurried on, turning left toward the command hub. More doors loomed ahead, sealed with high-grade locks, thick plating. Morin said, "We need that console." He gestured to a side room. Inside, 3 junior officers tried to secure files. Lena stunned them with a short pulse burst, then plugged in her spike again. Screens flashed. "I can open the command doors," she said, but only for 10 seconds. "That's enough," Jason replied. Doors ahead slid open. The command hub was a circular room filled with holographic displays and tall data pillars. A captain in black and gold turned, shock in his eyes. "Intruders," he roared. Guards rushed forward, but Jason and Morin met them mid-stride, disabling. "Weapons before they fired?" Solari dashed to the central terminal. She inserted her final data chip, the one holding the stolen files. The attack footage from Vectra 9. And the moon battle evidence, transmitting to Galactic Council, 2 planetary news nets, and to every open relay, Solari announced. "They can't block it all." Panic rippled through the command crew. The captain lunged toward Solari. Jason intercepted, grappling him away from the console. The captain fought hard, trained and strong, but Jason's enhanced body outmatched him. With a firm hold, Jason pinned the captain to the deck. External comm lights flickered. Green data burst complete. Lena smiled. Message delivered.
Irons.
Changed pitch high. Urgent. An automated sequence began. Incoming priority call from Galactic Council oversight. Compliance required. The command crew froze. Council contact meant legal authority beyond the Syndicate's shadow deals. One by one, they hesitated, lowering their weapons in confusion and fear. Jason pulled the captain up. "Order your people to stand down. The Council is watching now." The captain's jaw tightened. "You have ruined years of work." Jason said softly, "You ruined yourself." With a slow breath, the captain spoke into a companel. "All units, stand down. Cease fire." Guns lowered across the room. The sound of conflict faded. Tension broke like a snapped cable. Hours later, Council peacekeepers arrived in sleek silver craft, escorted by patrol ships that dwarfed the Syndicate cruiser. Investigators swept corridors, gathering weapons and files. Medics treated the wounded. Guards, both Syndicate and Jason's allies, under strict supervision, in a quiet infirmary. Jason sat on a cot, while a peacekeeper checked the fading bruise on his cheek. Solari stood nearby, arms crossed, a tiny, satisfied smile on her face. Morin leaned against the wall, already telling 2 young officers about ancient skirmishes on asteroid belts. Lena sat at a terminal, transmitting a short note to her T. Stall closed for a few extra days. A senior counselor in pale robes approached. "The evidence you sent is clear. The Syndicate will answer for its crimes. Your actions saved countless lives." Jason nodded, feeling tired but calm. "With a mistake," he said, glancing at Solari, and turned into something bigger. "Sometimes the biggest change begins with one mistake corrected," the counselor replied. "What about the serum in me?" Jason asked. "Am I a risk?" "Our medical board will study it," the counselor said. "But your choice is today. Show we can trust you." Solari stepped closer. "We'll continue monitoring his health. Promise." The counselor offered Jason a small data pin. "If you wish, join our special envoy. We need people who understand both strength and restraint." Jason held the pin, thinking of Bluegrass on Gratha 7, of miners' lanterns, of lost life. On Vectra 9, he looked at Solare Morin and Lena friends, bound by danger and hope. I accept, he said. But my team comes with me. The counselor smiled. We would be honored. Jason stood, feeling the serum pulse gently inside him, not as a burden, but as a promise. He had started as a quiet technician. Now he was something new, a protector on a wider stage. As the Peacekeeper ship lifted away, stars stretched beyond. The viewport, bright and endless. Jason slid the Gratha Luckstone from his pocket, warm in his hand. In that small, smooth surface, he felt the weight of every choice that had brought him here. Saylar touched his shoulder. Ready for the next journey? He smiled. Ready, and this time, we choose the path. The ship turned toward distant lights of the Galactic Council. Carrying a human strengthened by accident, an alien nurse driven by conscience, an old fighter with stubborn wisdom, and a hacker with a quick smile, united to keep dangerous secrets from ever hurting the innocent again.